What's the most messed up thing your parents made you do that they called tradition? In my family, we had a gratitude ceremony every Christmas, where one child had to give up their most precious possession to prove they weren't materialistic. My parents were raised in a commune called New Eden, where possessions were seen as spiritual poison. They believed teaching us detachment would save us from becoming shallow, greedy people. What they called sacred tradition, I now recognize as calculated psychological manipulation designed to break us down. The ceremony worked like this. Every Christmas Eve, starting around Thanksgiving, my parents would begin surveillance. They'd inspect our rooms when we weren't home, noting which items we touched most often, which books were well worn, which photos we kept closest to our beds. They'd watch us during daily activities, observing what made us smile or what we'd rush to save if we spilled something nearby. After weeks of covert observation, they'd announce which of us three kids had been chosen by the universe to demonstrate true gratitude by surrendering our most treasured possession forever. My older brother Jones lost his acoustic guitar when he was 14, the beautiful Yamaha he'd saved lawn mowing money for 2 summers to buy. I still remember him crying as he carefully placed it in the donation box, his fingertips touching the strings one last time. My sister Jenna had to give up our grandmother's silver locket when she turned 12, the only tangible connection she had to our grandma who died when Jenna was 8. The worst part wasn't just losing our treasures. They'd make us wrap our sacrificed items in beautiful paper with elaborate bows, then force us to write heartfelt cards explaining why we were grateful to surrender them. Then they'd drive us across town to hand deliver these packages to random families as charity, making us watch our precious belongings disappear into strangers' homes while we stood on doorsteps smiling through our tears. This year I turned 16 and they'd picked me, my target, a leather-bound journal where I'd written stories, poems, and personal thoughts every day for 4 years. It contained everything that mattered to me, my creative soul, my dreams of becoming a writer, poetry about my first crush, angry rants about unfairness. They announced their decision at dinner with those sick, serene smiles, explaining that creativity was my spiritual weakness that needed purging before I became too attached to my artistic ego. I had until Christmas morning to prepare my heart for the sacrifice. They made me wrap it in shimmering gold paper and write a card about why I was grateful to let go of my earthly tethers. But that night, clutching my journal, I realized something. These weren't enlightened spiritual guides. They were damaged people perpetuating their own childhood trauma. I made a decision that would change everything. I carefully scanned every page of my journal, uploading it all to a secure cloud storage. Then I went further. I started documenting everything. I recorded my parents explaining the tradition, filmed the wrapped journals and guitars from previous years that they kept hidden in the basement like trophies, and captured their planning sessions where they discussed which child to target next. But here's where it gets interesting. I discovered my parents had been selling our sacrificed items online. Those random families we delivered to, they were actually buyers my parents had arranged through Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. Jones's $800 guitar, Jenna's antique locket, years of our most precious belongings, all sold for profit while they preached about spiritual detachment. I printed out every receipt, every transaction, every lie. Christmas morning, when they asked for my wrapped sacrifice, I handed them something else instead, a folder full of evidence and a letter explaining that I'd contacted a family lawyer. The journal stays with me, I said, but you can keep this. My parents' faces when they realized their enlightened tradition was actually fraud, that was the real Christmas miracle. We moved in with my uncle that week after they agreed to family therapy rather than face potential charges. Jones bought a new guitar with money they had to pay back. Jenna wears grandma's locket again, and I still write in my journal every day. Turns out the most valuable lesson they taught us wasn't about detachment. It was about standing up to people who use love and tradition to manipulate you.